John Hook's Newsmaker starts now.
Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker. The Arizona Chamber of Commerce seems to be involved in pretty much every political matter confronting the state of Arizona, from energy to water to education, even funding for stadium improvements for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Chamber makes its position known on all of these issues, and Danny Seiden is the president and CEO of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce. He joins me now on Newsmaker. Great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, John. A lot to talk about.
There is a lot going on. Let's start with what you call a change in the DNA of Arizona's economy. The Mayo Clinic expansion and Taiwan Semi Conductor Manufacturing. These are two big projects.
Huge,
How does, when you say changing the DNA, what do you mean?
Well, with TSMC, now all in, we're talking about $165 billion. So that is generational. That will go on for decades. But what is so important about the TSMC announcement isn't just the amount of the capital investment, which is massive, largest foreign direct investment in United States history. It's what they're making. They're making the most advanced semiconductor chips that go into every bit of technology that you and I use on an everyday basis. And that's right here in Arizona. And what that does, John, is that pulls in all the vendors, all the suppliers. They want to be part of that. So one TSMC job at a fab supports 4 other jobs. And these are high-paying jobs. Advanced manufacturing is almost twice its counterpart in the private sector. So it's
do
huge.
we supply that group that will help manufacture that, or are we drawing from talent out of California, maybe Texas? Where's it coming from?
All of the above. For a project like this, we're pulling a lot of talent from around the country, but I'll say we've done a good job right here in Arizona. One of the reasons why TSMC picked us is because of ASU. Now, ASU has the largest engineering class in the country right now. Dr. Michael Crow has anticipated the new economy and what the talent pipeline needs are, and so he's been growing that engineering school. U of A has been doing their part on quantum, and MIS, and NAU is part of that as well. And I wouldn't even, don't forget Grand Canyon, who's always finding a way to and always finding a way to work with our companies and members in the state. So yeah, our education at that level, and also at the community college level, there is apprenticeship accelerations that have been going on, starting with Governor Ducey and continue through Governor Hobbs. So we are going to meet the talent needs.
So we are safely out of this boom and bust kind of environment that Arizona was known for, primarily predicated on housing.
Yeah, you're right. So go back 14 years, when the Great Recession hit, Arizona was the slowest state in the country to come out of that. And a big group got together and said, why did this happen? And they realized we did not have a very diverse economy. And so that's when the Arizona Commerce Authority was formed. That's when we created a lot of public-private partnershed. And with that, we were able to focus on bringing in manufacturing, bringing in advanced tech manufacturing, batteries, alternative fuels, a lot of different ideas that have made it so our economy can withstand a recession now better than most.
Yeah. Let's talk for a minute about the Diamondbacks. Yeah. I know you're involved in this. You've done some op-eds on it. Trying to keep the Diamondbacks here, we learned a hard lesson with the departure of the Coyotes, that teams can and will move if the circumstances change not in their favor.
No, John, that's right. We have learned that. But people should know the Coyotes didn't just leave. I mean, they were, I don't like to say stolen, but they decided to move to another state that was offering them a better deal and that was willing to work with them through various things.
And Utah is in the mix again right now.
100%, 100%.
This is not a scare tactic.
No, absolutely not. If you're a manager of an ownership group and you're being offered billions of dollars to go to a different state, and that state is putting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on the table to fund a stadium, that starts to look really appealing to your ownership group. I'm sure everyone would rather stay in the market where they're at, but at some point, they have to figure out the stadium. They have to have improvements. And Arizona's stadium for the Diamondbacks, 27 years back now, has been funded, through a county deal, and it's owned by the county. So we have to work with the government to come up with a solution. And this year, I believe that we have. I think Representative Jeff Wenninger has a great bill that allows for a tax recapture to go to the stadium improvements, which again is a public asset, to keep those Diamondbacks here by helping to fund all the remodeling that we need. It's not a giveaway to billionaires. It's an improvement for a public asset that keeps the team here. And they're so important to us as a community. What the D-backs do is more than just play baseball. I mean, they're in every community. They fund almost all of our Little League. They're all around the state. They work with every nonprofit charity you could imagine, charity. Their community impact is immeasurable.
So Danny, if you were to explain how this recapture happens, the money generated from players' taxes, taxes from employees, goods sold at the stadium, food, all of that, concessions.
Yeah, sales tax, correct, yeah.
That gets thrown back into revitalizing the stadium.
Yep,
so
correct,
it's
yeah.
money that the state wouldn't get or the cities won't get. We're saying for a time period, limited, right? They bring it back and redo the stadium so it doesn't create a new tax.
No, definitely not a new tax. It takes existing tax revenue and allows it to go to this public asset. And keep in mind, it was funded through a different tax before, so not a new tax at all.
Right.
It's just a recapture of tax dollars. But you just raised a really good point. That little bit of money that will go in and allow the D-backs to, and they're putting a lot of their own money into.
Yeah, I think they're saying it's going to be, let's see, what's the number? 400 to 500 million, and the team would put up 200 to 300 million of its own.
Team's putting up the majority of that. That's correct. What you lose if you're the city of Phoenix, if the Diamondbacks go away, that revenue that we're even talking about, it's gone. There are no players coming through here anymore. There is no income tax from them. There are no sales tax. Downtown is dead during the time of baseball season. We've been talking with local restaurant owners, hot dog vendors, charity groups, and they all say, we shut down if the Diamondbacks leave. Please keep the Diamondbacks. We have a responsible way to do that. It's bipartisan. It has support from Republicans, Democrats, small businesses, big businesses.
Yet the mayor of Phoenix, Kate Gallego, she said it takes $200 million from the city of Phoenix alone, which will have real impact on our ability to pay for police and fire services.
Yes.
True or false?
I would say I question her numbers on that. I don't know where she gets that $200 million from. There's exemptions built into this legislation around public safety. But again, more importantly, if you are the mayor of Phoenix, you're betting that they won't leave, because you lose way more than her number of 200 million there, which again I question a little bit. But you lose that if the Diamondbacks go away. You don't have anything. You have nothing. So if I was the mayor of Phoenix, I'd be doing everything I can to keep the Diamondbacks here, just like they did for the Suns a while ago, and working out an agreement with them that allows for.
And you believe it'll happen?
I do. I think there is leadership. I think the Diamondbacks matter to this community, and I think people will step up and vote for it. If not, they will go.
Do you think the loss of the Coyotes strengthened the Diamondbacks' position to say, hey?
I think it's a wake-up call. And I think it was a big wake-up call that this can happen. People keep saying, whether you're the Diamondbacks, Axon, oh, they won't leave. They wouldn't dare leave. Yes, they will. They will leave, because it's irresponsible to stay in a state that's not willing to work with you, is not willing to compete for you and fight for you.
And that stadium, you believe, because it's one of the oldest now in the National League.
Second oldest in the National League, yes, sir.
Is that the footprint that you can do this with? Can you renovate an existing structure like that to a way that would really be appealing?
That is the national model right now, is to take some of these existing ones, change how the seats are arranged, shrink different spaces of it, upgrade the amenities, make it more environmentally sound, all of that. Yes, I do believe that footprint right there at Chase Field that we all love is the way to do this.
Will we recognize that stadium when this is done? Or will it really look dramatically different? Some people would love that.
Yeah.
It's great when the roof is open.
It is. When the roof works and can be open.
When the roof is closed, it's a different environment.
It is 100%. And that was the first stadium in the country, I think, when it opened, was a baseball stadium with the retractable roof. So again, people will recognize it. Chase Field is a landmark, and it will continue to be as long as we pass this bill, get this done, we'll keep the Diamondbacks here.
Okay, let's talk about water.
Sure.
Governor Hobbs a couple of years ago said there's not enough water to guarantee home building in certain areas outside of Phoenix. Phoenix was not part of that, which was interesting. Outside of Phoenix, mainly west side. I keep hearing from the East Coast press that we've got a water crisis, and I actually beg to differ. We're using less water now than we used in the late 50s in this town, and our population has grown 6 times what it was, because we've traded ag for urban.
Yeah, very true. John,
do we have a water crisis?
John, Arizona is the most well-managed water planning state in the country. We're the only state that has a 100-year assurancy requirement. So when you talk about what Governor Hobbs said a few years ago, it was that in, 4% of unincorporated areas around Maricopa County, around year 96 of that 100, there might be a water shortage, which is insane to think we can't solve for that if we're using less water now than we did in the 1950s, as you pointed out. So no, we can solve our water issues. We're very good with water. We're the best in the country.
We're better than California. We're in better shape than California.
California doesn't have that 100-year requirement. It's like 20 plus years. Or Texas doesn't have it. Texas has real water problems. They have treaty agreements that are running into problems right now in the Rio Grande and everything else. We can solve for this. Arizona is planned for this. We're ready for it.
How do you rebut this? Because when you tell somebody we are using less water now than we did in 1957, people cannot believe it. They think it's false.
Yeah.
That is an SRP number. That number is real. And how do you combat the East Coast press that keeps beating this drum that Arizona's drying up and becoming a wasteland?
The East Coast media would love nothing more than for us to not to exist. We've seen this, John. I have in my office headlines going back to the 50s of how Arizona is going to cease to exist, how Phoenix will be a Cadillac graveyard, how we'll be a rust belt, we'll be an empty desert, that we won't be around. We keep proving them wrong, we keep innovating, and we keep growing. So we're an affront to what the East Coast people who write about this. I don't even know if they've ever been to Arizona.
That's
they haven't
my
seen
complaint.
what we're doing
That's
here.
my complaint.
Leave
They
your
don't
ivory tower.
understand the Salt River chain.
Salt River. We have 3 main sources. I mean, we have the river, we have our aquifer, we have groundwater. We have so many solutions to this, and we haven't even tapped into augmentation like desalinization. You know, the technology is getting better every year. I mean, Israel is proving that you can desalinate your way out of a water crisis.
But my understanding is, and you worked with him, Governor Ducey, when they took that coalition over to Israel to look at what they're doing, especially on irrigation, they said, unless you guys look at irrigating smarter for farming, don't even consider desal. It's too expensive. When you can't do it that way, then consider desal. Is that true?
Israel, yes, I was with that delegation. I've gone a few times, and we have different members of our chamber who are involved in drip technology. And what they would say is, rather than even getting to desalinization, which requires a pipeline for us, I don't know if you know, Arizona's not by an ocean.
Yeah.
So there's some issues there. But drip irrigation saves you water. It produces a greater yield, requires less fertilizer. It's just smart water use. And you know, I can tell you, John, from my time when I was at Intel, there's companies that are paying farmers to be smarter with how they, what crops they choose. You know, switching from alfalfa to hops, so, you know, a high water crop to a low water crop. There's different things we can do in Arizona to just be better with our water.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Before I let you go, I've got to ask you about energy, because I've been very curious why there has not been more discussion about more nuclear here. It's probably the safest place to generate nuclear energy, maybe in the world. Not seismic activity, not big storm activity, not big flood activity. Is that on the table anywhere?
I believe it is. Our three major utilities just came out and announced that they are devoting a whole task force, resources to what the nuclear future for Arizona is. You know, Ted Geisler, who's the incoming CEO of APS, who serves on my board, has spoken a lot about this, that Palo Verde is the national model. There is space for more reactors at Palo Verde. That's one way of doing it. There's also what you're hearing a lot about now are these SMRs, or small modular reactors, so kind of mini nuclear reactors, and we're seeing them funded through a lot of private funds in other states. We'll get there too, but what Arizona does really well, we're a well-planned for state on energy. We have the second most reliable grid in the country.
That is right. CNBC made that announcement
100%,
recently.
and that matters to a company. You ask, why did TSMC pick us? Well, we're not going to have a winter storm, and they're not going to lose power for 2 weeks like happens in Texas. Our grid is reliable. It's surprisingly affordable, given even the extreme heat that we have. We manage for it well. So they're going to take all of the above approach to energy planning. We're talking about natural gas as a bridge. We're talking about more nuclear and all the renewables, you know, when it makes sense and is affordable.
This situation with Axon, Axon expanding in Scottsdale, that seems to be right now on the shelf. Residents, a lot of residents have said they don't want it. They're worried about apartment building that would go along with the expansion. This is at Hayden in the Loop 101. Where do you see that going?
I think when we talk about Axon, John, it's important to take a step back and realize we're not just talking about one company versus an initiative. What happened to Axon can happen to anybody in our state. It's an abuse of our process. It's an abuse of our direct democracy. Axon is a great Arizona story. Rick Smith is a local guy, you know, sells products that keep us safe, keeps our family safe, keeps police officers safe.
They do the tasers and the body cameras.
That's all made here. And what he wanted to do was expand here and have his workers have the ability to live where they work. Not too crazy. And I'll tell you right now, Scottsdale is not overbuilt with apartments. You know, they have like a 6% vacancy rate. There's plenty of room for more apartments there, but that's not what this is. All that this is an out-of-state union came to a company like Axon, can happen to any of our members, and it has a couple, and said either you sign a public, you know, PLA, an agreement guaranteeing us that we'll be able to organize a union, or we're going to make life difficult for you. And then they stir up the residents with nonsense talking points about being overbuilt on apartments and things like that. We need to figure out how to make this work. I don't think the bill maybe is going to be the right way at the legislature.
This is to thwart local initiatives.
To thwart the local initiative, but it is scary to think that, you know, in a society that depends on private property rights to enshrine our capitalism, that you can allow an out-of-state group come in and abuse the process and hold up a multi-billion-dollar, thousands of jobs, you know, investment just because you didn't get the agreement you wanted or you didn't get the work you wanted. That's a scary thing. We have to fix this.
Do you think in the end they stay?
I honestly, I don't know. I know they want to stay. I know that Arizona will have a big black eye, and we'll send a message out to the rest of the country that you can invest with us, but we'll let an out-of-state group come in and mess with you. We have to nip that in the bud right now, stop it, and I think we'll find a solution for Axon. I'm going to be optimistic. We'll find a solution.
Danny Seiden, CEO, President, Arizona Chamber. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me, John. Yeah.
You're not going to believe who is coming up next.
Who do we have?
Okay, Travis Walton will join me next. Back in 1975, he claims he was abducted by aliens taken aboard a UFO near Heber, Arizona. His story became the inspiration of the movie Fire in the Sky. Travis Walton joins me next on Newsmaker. Welcome back on Newsmaker. What happened to Travis Walton on November 5th, 1975? The night he claims he was abducted by aliens and taken aboard a flying saucer in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Heber, Arizona. It remains one of the most fantastical episodes of an alien abduction ever purported. And it was made into a highly successful film in 1993, Fire in the Sky. There are doubters, to be sure, but we thought it was worth hearing from Travis Walton. His story, in his own words. Travis Walton joins me now on Newsmaker. Travis, great to see you. It should be noted that the first interview you gave after you were found 10 days after you were discovered, after the alleged abduction, you gave your first interview to this television station, which was then Cool Television. I don't know if you even recall it.
Oh, I've done too many to remember, but here we are.
Well, we've come full circle.
After, what, half a century?
Yeah, we have come full circle on this, so thank you for doing this. Travis, can you take me back to that night? You're out with a logging crew. It's a 7-man crew. You're one of 7 in a truck. You've concluded your work day. You're driving back in the darkness. What happened?
Well, we saw a glow coming through the trees ahead, and first we thought probably just some deer hunters up there. But when we got where we could see the source of the light, there it was, unmistakable, this metallic craft hovering there.
You got out of the truck, as I understand it, and actually went toward the vehicle. Can you even explain why you would have had that impulse?
Well, it was just the impulse thinking that it would be gone in a flash, just like, you know, when we spot wildlife out there, you know, by the time you tell the crew where to look, it's gone.
You're 22 years old. You go out of the truck. Were your guys urging you not to get out of the truck and to come back?
Oh, yeah, they were yelling at me, calling me all kinds of things. And I immediately had second thoughts about, you know, what I was doing.
Did you get about, was it roughly 90 feet away from this craft, would you say?
Yeah, it was very close. There was no mistaking this. It was not some blurry, glowing object in the distance. This was a clearly visible metallic object hovering there.
And Travis, then what happens? There's a blast of light.
I rely on what the other 6 men describe. Is it threw me back through the air, and my body landed as if I was dead. And they said they were even yelling at each other. He killed him. It was that violent, and you know, the way my body fell. You know, they've been criticized for taking off and leaving me like that, but. Under the circumstances, thinking that I was already dead and there was nothing they could do to help, you know, the boss driving the truck, his duty at that point was to preserve the lives of the crew.
After you get knocked to the ground, what happens?
I woke up and I was on board the craft. I didn't know that. I thought I was in a hospital. I, you know, was in very painful, hazy condition. Eventually, the memory of approaching that object came to me, but I thought I'd been taken to the hospital. When my eyes cleared and I could see these beings standing over were not doctors, they were these aliens. I just totally freaked out.
Can you
And that
describe
level
what
of
they
fear
look
made
like?
me, they were hairless, um, very large eyes, the human arrangement of features, two arms, two eyes, a nose, a mouth, like that, but not at all human. And at that point, very terrifying, very threatening to me.
Did they try to communicate with you in any way?
I did not get any sort of um, thing I would interpret as a communication. There was an extension. They sort of reached out when I was flailing, threatening at them. But after many years, I got to thinking that if these beings are telepathic with each other, they don't need facial expressions. And humans tend to interpret frozen facial expression as hostility.
Did you feel that they were hostile?
Well, at the time, that's the way I perceived it. I felt I was I felt mortally wounded, felt like I was dying. And so, yeah, at that time. But in hindsight, I'm thinking that they were actually probably trying to save me from this discharge from the craft that had hit me and caused such damage.
Oh, you think they were trying to save you?
Yeah, I think so.
That is very interesting. Did you feel, and I know you went in and out of consciousness, and a lot of this is the 5 days you were gone, you claim that you were out of it for most of that. What do you recall about any experiments they might have been doing on you? Or do you think they were?
There was a device across my chest, and that's where the beam struck me, the energy, and maybe the point where there was a great deal of damage, or the effort to revive me might have involved this device. It was across my chest when I first woke up, but there were some instruments there.
You're aware that people watching this are going, you got to be kidding me. This is insane. This is fantasy. What do you say to those people?
Well, this happened 50 years ago, and all 7 men have stood by what we reported to the very end. And I made the point that if you had 7 people testifying that they had witnessed some crime, like, say, a murder, that would be an open and shut case to have 7 people consistently stick by that. And that's let alone all of them passing state police polygraph tests.
There was one defector, Mike Rogers, in 2021. He made this social media post renouncing his status as a witness to your supposed abduction. Then he took it back later. But he said it was just a fantastic story and that it had been concocted. What do you say to that?
Well, I think he had an intense period of jealousy attack right through there. I've actually since, visited with him, and he doesn't take that position anymore. And one other crew member was the youngest guy on the crew was teased about the report that I had got from the other crew members that he had been crying that night. Even the police reported that, but he was so mortified by his uncle or cousin, whoever it was, teasing him about being a big crybaby, that he started denying that it was in various ways.
That is the conclusion of the Newsmaker program, but I want to let everyone know we are continuing this conversation with Travis Walton on the Fox Local app, our YouTube channel at Fox 10 Phoenix. The full video is available